Hello, everyone. Welcome to wherever around the world you're joining us from. Welcome to the latest webinar from the Safety and Security Event Series and 19 Group. My name is Mark Tilley. I am the Content Community Manager and your host for today's session. And we're really delighted to have you join us today for this exclusive conversation with one of the most influential voices in security and access control as we ramp ahead to the Security Event Asia, which takes place in Singapore this November. So in today's conversation, we're going to be exploring why Asia's security market is at such a pivotal moment right now, what the technologies and the trends that are reshaping access control are in that area, and how innovation around the world is opening up some really exciting local opportunities for Singapore and for Asia. And you'll also get a preview of the themes and the discussions that are going to be taking place at the security event in Asia and just why Singapore is the place to watch in 2025 and 2026. So our guest today, who you can all see alongside me, I'm sure he needs no introduction, but we'll give him one anyway. Lee Odess is one of the world's leading voices in access control. He's been instrumental in helping companies and communities understand the future of security technology, and he's an entrepreneur, strategist, and thought leader who has worked with some of the biggest names in the industry, very known for his ability to connect the dots between technology, people, and business outcomes. So welcome, Lee. We're thrilled to have you join us today from all the way across the pond.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, I'm here in Bethesda, Maryland.
Bethesda, Maryland, very nice.
Yeah.
We had one a couple of weeks ago from Tennessee, so
All right.
our global reach is expanding more and more every time as we go. So yeah, before we jump in, obviously, just for those of you that have been part of our webinars before, you'll see there's a Q&A function to the right-hand side. So do please get your questions in. We've set aside some time at the end of this 30-minute session for Lee to answer any questions that you have. But before that, we'll jump in now. And Lee, I'd like us to kind of set the scene kind of to start with. I'd like you to maybe tell us what factors do you think make this such a turning point right now for the security market in Asia?
Yeah, I mean, I think it follows a lot of what we see globally. There's a lot of investments in smart city type infrastructure. You've got digital transformation happening, of course, right? So if you see that, it's also converging with this heightened public safety concerns, creating urgency for modernizing systems and that. So it's really an inflection point more than anything else. I think I like to say our industry's been in a interesting place for the past 30 years. It's been somewhat predictable, and then all of a sudden, coming out of COVID, you see a lot of unpredictability and sort of this trust and comfort that the system that I had, I bought for the past 30, 50 years, whose primary job was just to keep bad people out, is now being asked to do a lot of different things other than that on top of it. A lot of it's being driven by, the points we talked about before, but then also even just like little things like becoming less hardware driven and more software driven. You're seeing a lot of terms now, people looking at platforming security. And it's really just, you're mirroring a lot of the global trends where there's faster adoption. Like the industry is always seen going slow as a feature, and it's becoming a bug at this point. And then you just on top of that, you have a lot of government-led investment and programs going into, which also drives the adoption of technology. So all of those together make it sort of like, why now? It's no better time to be in our industry than now.
And I know you talked there about mirroring global trends, but from your perspective, how does the security landscape in Asia differ from, say, North America or Europe?
I think you do see in the APAC region like a heavier government policy infrastructure projects that are driving a lot. The commercial market, not as much that you see, say, like more fragmented private sector demand, like in North America and Europe. Yes, you have government driven in all those areas, but the APAC region seems to be a little bit more on that end. I also believe that what's nice about that differs is the leapfrogging the legacy systems and sort of moving straight to mobile first, cloud native, AI enabled platforms. While like in the West here, we're sort of balancing modernization with legacy integration products. Sure, you have legacy in those areas as well, but there seems to be just a greater appetite in the marketplace for mobile first, cloud native, and AI enabled, which I think differentiates it than other places.
Nice. So yeah, I guess yeah, that's quite a nice kind of segue into looking at trends and technologies. Are there any emerging, are there any emerging technologies around access control that you're really excited to see gain traction in Asia?
Yeah, I mean, Asia and beyond, really, you're starting to see sort of
Mm.
the biometrics specifically. It's usually it's funny when I travel outside of North America, biometrics is typically if someone walks up to me and says you want to have a conversation, that seems to be a one that's the first that people want to talk about. I also believe this mobile credentials colliding with Asia's mobile first culture and sort of the strong customer I'm sorry, strong consumer adoption and acceptance of digital identity that you see in the area. Like that is sort of just a powder keg of adoption that I think we're going to just see. Where in some areas you're seeing headwinds to that. I just think the APAC region is going to, as soon as it figures itself out from the sort of the players in that market, it's just going to grow. It's always been a market that has been more digital than others, so this is just going to be a powder keg. The other one is I do believe AI powered video intelligence and agentic AI operators in a lot of ways. Like I think you're seeing this sort of need for and desire for automation to be brought in, and I think it's just going to reshape security operations. We're shifting from reactive to proactive decision making in our systems, which is really nice. It's like they're finally technology is allowing in a lot of ways the systems to function not based off of what happened prior, but now predicting and helping what is going to happen and then make decisions on its own with policy, but then also empower the users to be able to get ahead of these, you know, things that have happened that cause problems.
Hmm. And you touched on AI just there. How do you see sort of AI and cloud and mobile credentials reshaping the way that buildings are and spaces are secured?
Yeah, I think if so as an industry, it's kind of interesting to see. We're going through a period currently right now where we're talking about it in a way it's like we haven't had it. So it's like these are architectures, not features in a lot of ways, but we treat them as features because we haven't had them and we're just like sort of bolting them on. But we're starting to see now companies come in that are AI, cloud, and mobile native, like it's just built into what they do, and it's really focused on the value that they create and the sort of acceleration of adoption. So I believe I think you're going to start to see a handful of things. The the shift from say the door to the perimeter to protect that and to tie it all together. The users themselves now, it's not just when they come up to the facility, it's this in their hand is, at home before they get there is starting to now have an interaction with the space. And what it's doing is it's enabling seamless type experiences. So we're allowed to have now convenience with security, these operational insights and data. Like it's shifting the security industry to a data industry that is applied to security. It's interesting to think of it in a different way. And then you're also starting to see this cross departmental value. So actually all the different stakeholders were becoming featured inside of their what they work on. So whether it's HR, finance, whatever it might be, the software aspects of integrating into systems, it's no longer just, hey, go to the security department in the basement and talk to them. It's no, it's now the systems are being able to be brought up. And I talk about it's utility plus. So the utility of our industry has always been the safety and security. And we've done a really good job of keeping bad people out. We're now being expected to also add more value on top of that. So operational efficiencies, revenue generation, user experience, all of that. And the combination of all of these things is going to reduce fragmentation. So platforms, unifying identity, trust, intelligence. And again, it's just going to allow organizations to treat access control, which again was, I don't know, it's not like the sexiest thing in the world. No one kind of like was like woke up one day, was like, you know what, I instead of being an athlete, I'm going to be an access control, no, it's like you kind of people fall into this thing. And when we frankly, as an industry, haven't done a really nice job of telling our own story, but now it allows our industry to start to become a strategic business enabler, which is a totally different place and ballgame for us to operate in. And it's allowing us to have some swag, if you would, of like the value that we're bringing to the marketplace. I mean, it's no better time again to be in our industry than now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to have a quick talk about sort of innovation and opportunities moving forward. I know obviously we spoke before about the kind of key differences between the Asian market and the rest of the world, but how do you think, what lessons do you think from other markets, Asia particularly, is able to adapt? And conversely, how do you think Asia might be able to influence the rest of the world?
Yeah, I mean, this is a long conversation type
Mm.
question, which I like, but it needs nuances in a lot of ways. But at a high level, I think the Asian marketplace can learn from Europe and North America around this sort of platforming that we're talking about, and then integration strategies. So, like moving away from siloed systems to the unified operation systems and identity systems. I think I see that more in the European North American market that I think Asia can learn from. Well, and conversely, I think Asia can help really our market and here in North America and then in Europe with their mobile first adoption and the willingness to scale government led deployments. I do think it could be a benchmark of things like speed, adoption, and user experience. The Asian market does such a better job of that than I would say the North American and Europe. That what's nice though is the way discovery happens now from like doing things like this, for instance, right? And then taking the conversations we'll have at the security event and then bringing them online. The ability to discover and have these conversations is just a lot easier so than it was before, where you had to fly, 17 hours to go visit with someone to have the conversation. Now, this exchange of information and it just takes a higher level of curiosity, in my opinion, to really unpack that and allow yourselves to learn from each one from each market.
Yeah. Um, and also on that topic of kind of innovation and opportunities moving forward, what role do you think that sustainability and ESG has to play in the future of access control and smart buildings?
Yeah, so I think on the surface, access control has always had like a hard time with impacting ESG because people think of it from a sustainability standpoint. I
Mm.
do think the E part, the energy, right? I believe access control, physical security. Actually, my brief that went out today, I write a brief about twice a month. There was a new study that came out from Gallup around like, do people feel safe globally? That they do it every single year, and it's kind of fascinating to see this sort of change over the past 3 years. I've been writing about it, but that S part, the societal impact, my opinion is, as an industry, we can own that because that's about feeling safe and being safe. Now, there's a lot that goes into the S. I get that, but as far as somebody who can grab hold, sort of like the HVAC industry, if in a lot of ways is taking hold of the E, the security industry could take a hold of the S because you could do a direct line. If I feel safe and I am safe, I'm more productive. It's what I talk about often that in the technology world, you have a lot of these sort of tenant engagement applications that come out, and um, they the security industry sits in a place that it helps deliver. The value is around delivering safety and security. These tenant engagement apps, they're talking to you about just user experience, which is great, but if I don't feel safe and I'm not safe, I'm not going to that building. I don't care how good the lattes are inside of that app. I'm not ordering it. So I believe we have the opportunity to own that S, and we need to do a better story because I think the E part, I get it. If people leave a room, we could turn the lights off, based off occupancy. But I really believe that S is our main driver as an industry, and we just have done a terrible job of communicating the value and the impact that we've had as an industry in in helping with delivering safety and security so people can be productive.
Nice. So I think, yeah, without wanting to give too much away, because obviously I know Lee's obviously a very big part of the security event here in the UK every April, and he's going to be a very big part of our Asia edition, which is taking place in November. And like I said, without giving too much away, what are the kind of themes, discussions, conversations that you're most looking forward to diving deeper into at the security event in Singapore in November?
Yeah, no. First, I want to make sure, since we have this platform, to tell people that I really want this to be seen as a stage for conversation. Like, I really, my desire for all of this is to create an area to where we can have these conversations. I like to have strong opinions, but I like to hear from others' strong opinions too. So by all means, if you're coming to the show, please engage, be part of it, and join into the conversation, because it helps shape a lot of this. But specifically, I'll say two areas that I'm most interested in. It's sort of like asking me what's my favorite kid. I love all of my kids, but the two that I'm really focused on that I want to hear a lot about is the platform evolution and consolidation that we talked about. So like, how are vendors in the APAC region and globally repositioning to deliver identity first software centric solutions, totally different than what we've been delivering as an industry. So I'm excited to hear that. The other one is, there AI can be, a word we just use, and there's people that think it's going to change the world. There's other